Christmas, my sister was given a $350,000 lake house. Then they handed me a letter. I read it aloud. Her smile vanished. At Christmas dinner, my parents announced they were giving my sister a lake house worth $350,000. The whole family cheered. Then they handed me an envelope. I thought it was a check. It was a letter. I read it out loud, and the room went from celebration to silence in about 40 seconds. My sister Whitney has always been my parents' priority. She's younger, louder, and more present. She married a man named Brent, who my parents love because he golfs with dad and brings wine to every dinner. I married a man named Theo, who works in IT and doesn't golf. My parents have never quite known what to do with us. The lake house has been in our family for decades. My grandparents built it. When they passed, it went to my parents. It sits on 2 acres with a dock, a deck, and 4 bedrooms. I spent every summer there as a kid. I repainted the shutters at 16. I helped Grandpa replace the dock boards when I was 14. That property is woven into my memories as much as anyone's. My parents announced at Christmas that they were transferring the lake house to Whitney and Brent. Dad stood up and gave a speech about legacy and how Whitney's family would carry the tradition forward. Whitney cried. Brent shook Dad's hand. Everyone clapped. Then Mom handed me an envelope. This is for you. I opened it expecting a card or maybe a check to balance the scales. It was a letter. 1 page, tight. I scanned the first few lines and my hands started shaking. The letter said, "Dear daughter, we know this may come as a surprise, but we've decided the lake house is best suited for Whitney's family given their growing needs and proximity to the property. As for your share of the estate, we've set aside $8,000 in a savings bond that will mature in 7 years. We hope you understand this is about fairness, not favoritism. $8,000 in a bond that matures in 7 years against a $350,000 property given outright with no conditions." My family was watching me. Whitney was still glowing. Mom had her expectant face on, the one that says, "Please just accept this quietly." I didn't accept it quietly. I read the letter out loud, every word. I started from the top. "Dear daughter, I read the line about the lake house being best suited for Whitney. I read the part about the $8,000 savings bond. I read the line about fairness, not favoritism." And I watched the room change. Whitney's smile disappeared like someone pulled a plug. Brent looked at his shoes. Aunt Ruth put her hand over her mouth. Uncle Dennis set down his fork. My cousin Jill whispered loud enough for 3 tables to hear, "That's insane." Dad's jaw tightened. Mom said, "You weren't supposed to read that out loud. Then you shouldn't have handed it to me in front of everyone. It was a private letter. You gave your other daughter a $350,000 house in a public announcement and gave me a savings bond in a sealed envelope. You wanted the gift to be public and the insult to be private. I just evened the score." Whitney said, "It's not an insult. They're trying to be fair. You got a house. I got $8,000 in 7 years. How is that fair? Brent and I live closer. We'll use it more. I spent every summer there. I painted those shutters. I replaced the dock with Grandpa. You came up twice a year and complained about the bugs." Dad said, "This isn't the time." "When is the time, Dad? You announced the lake house in front of 20 people. You gave me the letter in front of the same 20 people. The only thing you didn't want public was my reaction." Mom started crying. "We didn't mean for it to feel this way." "Then what did? You mean you gave one daughter a generational property and the other a piece of paper worth less than a used car in the same room at the same dinner." Theo put his hand on my back. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. I stood up. I put the letter on the table where everyone could see it. I said, "I'm not fighting over property. I'm standing here telling you that what you did tonight wasn't fair, it wasn't equal, and it wasn't kind. And you know it. Everyone at this table knows it." I picked up my coat. Theo and I left. We drove 40 minutes home without saying much. When we pulled in, Theo said, "The dock, you really replaced those boards?" "With Grandpa. I was 14. It took us 2 weekends. That house should have been yours." "I know." Aunt Ruth called me the next day. She said the table was silent for 15 minutes after I left. She said Whitney tried to change the subject, but nobody cooperated. She said Dad went to bed early and Mom sat in the kitchen alone for an hour. 3 weeks later, Dad called. He said they were reconsidering the arrangement. He said maybe the house could be shared between both families. I said, "You don't share something you already gave away. Whitney's name is on the transfer. It's done. We could undo it." "You can't undo what it told me, Dad. You can move paperwork around, but you can't undo the fact that you handed me an envelope worth 7 years of waiting while my sister got a house in real time." He didn't have an answer. "The bond matures in 2031. I don't think about it. The lake house has a dock I built with my grandfather. I won't be the one sitting on it, but I'll always know which boards are mine."